Okay, welcome back to this Let's Code series where we are coding a password manager. Well done for making it this far and continuing to follow me through this, still reluctant to say it, but this journey, this programming journey we're on as we are making this password manager. And today we're going to hopefully make quite a lot of progress. It might have seemed a little bit slow in the last episode where we got our user hashed and stored safely, so that no one can just come along and kind of see what our username and password are. But hopefully we're gonna make quite a lot of progress today. Now, a password manager, one of the great features about a password manager is that you can get it to make you a password that's nice and secure, just randomly generate you one, so that then you can use that for if you're creating an account somewhere. And so this is where we kind of left off last time, right? I kind of thought about this generate passwords. I lost steam, and I was like, you know what? I need to go away and think about this and come back. And that's what I've done. It's not particularly difficult. I just wasn't in the right headspace. And so we're going to work on this today. Now, I've decided that we're actually going to put this in a different file to keep things nice and separate. So I'm just going to cut what we took yesterday, and we're going to put that in a brand new file. So I'm going to jump into here. I'm going to add a file, and we're going to call this generator.py. And this is going to be where we generate things. Fantastic. And we have generate password. So we need the random library for sure in this file. Just going to pop that in. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my .repl.it file, and I'm actually going to change this so that it doesn't run main.py when we press run, but it actually runs generator.py. And this means that we can just work in isolation and just test the functionality of this. And then we can put it into main, get it working, and have our program working properly. So that's what we're going to change here. So generator.py, if I run that, nothing should happen. Lovely. Okay, great. So nothing happens, and I'm really happy about it. So what we're going to do is we are going to write a function that we can give a lower boundary and an upper boundary, such as 97 and 122, right? And what it's going to do, our function is going to be something like get ASCII range, I guess. And what that's going to return is a array with all of that range in. So that's lowercase, so that would have A, B, C, D, obviously it's strings, in an array, okay? And I could give it 65 to 90 instead of those numbers, and instead I would get back A, B, C, D, E, right? And so if the user wants lowercase, then we will get the ASCII range for lowercase. If they also want uppercase, we'll get the ASCII range for uppercase as well, and we will add it to our existing lowercase range. And then when we're building their passwords, we'll have a big list of all the characters that they want. Whether they wanted numbers, we'll add that into the list. If they wanted symbols, we'll add that into the list. And then we'll just pick a random character for that amount of times that we want, and that is how we're going to generate our password. So let's get started, and let's make this function called get ASCII range. So def get ASCII range, and it's going to take the should we say lower bound and upper bound. Sometimes it's hard thinking of variable names on the fly. Upper bound, lower bound, yeah, that'll do. And what we're going to do is we are going to do a loop. So we're going to say for I in range, and we're going to go from the lower bound, and it's going to go up to but not including the upper bound. So what we need to do is we need to tell it to go up to the upper bound plus 1. Okay, great. So this is a for loop, and so we're telling this to do something a certain amount of times. I is going to start at whatever we give lower bound to be, and it's going to end at our upper bound value. Okay. Once it gets to our upper bound plus 1 value, it will stop. The loop will exit. And what we're going to say is we're going to have an array. So we're going to have something like, I don't know, characters equals an empty array. And then inside this characters array, we're going to say no, let's pick our letter first, I guess. So let's say char Yeah, it's more separate from character. It's easier to tell apart. I will accept that shortening of the variable name here just for a bit more readability, just so it's easier to see the distinction between that and the array called characters. So we're going to say our character, our char, our single character, is equal to, and if you remember, we had this function that we looked at yesterday, this cur function, right? So we're going to say cur of I. So I is going to start at the lower bound. It's going to increment its way up to the upper bound. Okay, so char equals cur I, and then we're going to say characters dot append, and we're going to add in our char. And what that's going to do is just add it to the end of the array. And so the array will keep getting longer and longer and longer until we get to the end. And then we will simply return our characters. Lovely. So let's test that. So let's just print get ASCII range. And we're giving it 65 to 90. So we should expect all the capital letters. So let's run this. And nothing happens because we're not actually running any functions here. This is our kind of library here, our module. We've just got two functions defined, but no actual code loose in the program to be run. So let's jump down here and let's just say generate passwords. And it does want all of this stuff. Now, I've had a big think about this, and I don't want it to have all of this. We're going to restructure how we have that data. We're just going to have contains, and we're going to go through what that is equal to shortly. Yeah, we're going to go through that shortly. But for the time being, let's just generate a password. Let's just put in some dummy values here. It doesn't matter because we're not actually using the length or the contains yet. And we're going to run this, and we can see we've got all the capital letters printed out in the console here from A to Z, which is lovely. Okay, now let's test it. Let's store this in a variable. So let's say capitals equals get ASCII range, and let's say lowers equals get ASCII range, and we're going to put in the ASCII range, which is 97 to 122. And then what we're going to do is we're going to print, and we're going to add these two arrays together. And when you add arrays together, you simply just combine them, right? So we're going to print lower, add capitals. Lowers, not lowers. Lowers, not lower. Okay. So if we run this now, you can see here we've got the lowercase letters, and then we have the uppercase letters. So this is working great. Okay. So depending on what the user wants, like lowercase, capitals, numbers, symbols, we can tailor what we are getting here. So we've got capitals, lowers. Now let's grab our symbols. So again, exactly the same function here, but just different values. I'm just going to copy and paste that. So our symbols were 33 to 47. And our numbers are 48 to 57. So let's just... numbers equals get ASCII range, and we've got 48 to 57. I can never remember numbers when I say them out loud. I should listen to myself more. Okay, lovely. So now what we're going to have is our, let's call it our character range, and that is going to be equal to however many of these we're actually using. Okay, so our character range is going to depend on whether our user wants capital letters, whether they want symbols, whether they want numbers. Now, for the purposes of this, we are going to assume that they want all of them to begin with. And as we go through this program and give it some more, a better kind of user interface, then we can start thinking about how we would allow them custom control over this. But at the moment, it seems a bit tedious to ask them, do you want letters? Do you want numbers? Do you want symbols? And so we're just going to decide for them that it is going to contain a mixture of all of these. Okay, we are going to generate our password. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to ask our user. Oh no, we're given a length, aren't we? We're given a length. Okay, so we need to be given how many letters they want. So our character range is actually going to equal. Sorry, my mind. I've got too much stuff in this function. Let's clear all this out. All this can go. All this can go. Our character range is going to equal capitals, add lowers, add symbols, add, let's get rid of this side panel so we've got a bit more space, add numbers. Okay, and then we're going to say for I in range, and we're going to put in our length. We are then going to go round and we're going to create our password. So our password is going to start as an empty string, and we're going to keep adding to that. So we're going to say, let's say next character is equal to random.choice, I believe. And random.choice, you can give it an array and it will just pick a random letter or a random item from that array. So we're going to give it the character range array. And that will now take a random letter from our character range, and it will then assign it to next chart. And then we're going to say password plus equals. So what we're saying is password is equal to password add. This is a shorter way of writing that. So we could say password equals password plus. Okay, and we're going to add our next char. But instead of saying password equals password plus, we can literally just say password plus equals next char. And that will add in our next character. So let's just print our character range here and make sure we're getting all of the ranges that we want. So let's run this. Give ourselves a bit more space here. And we'll just give it a second to think about it. Maybe it'll do it, maybe it won't. We'll find out in a second. Okay, there we go. Fantastic. So we've got our capital letters here. We've got our lowercase letters. We've got some symbols, and we've got some numbers. Now, if we wanted to as well, we could add in the other symbol ranges here, right? We could have like symbols 1, symbols 2 for the different ranges in the ASCII. Maybe it would be good to do that now. Maybe it would be good. Let's look up our ASCII table. Ooh, ASCII table. And this is the Wikipedia one. Take me to Wikipedia. Great. Where would we be without Wikipedia? So we took from 33 down to 47. Let's also take 58 to 64. And I'm not going to try and remember any others at the moment. So we want 58 to 64. And we also want, where's the other one? So here, 91 to 96. So let's use that as well, 91 to 96. Okay, so we're going to have symbols, and maybe we could. No, let's not overcomplicate this. Let's just copy this and paste this 2 more times, and we're going to call this symbols 1, and actually we're going to say symbols equals symbols add get ASCII range. Okay, and then so we're just going to update the variable and make the list bigger and bigger with all the different symbols. So symbols equals symbols add, or we could do plus equals. Like I said, we can replace this with plus equals. So 58 to 64, and then we're going to do 91 to 96. Okay, so this should get us a much bigger range of symbols now. Let's have a look. Let's just test that's working. Is that work? Did that run? I didn't notice. Yeah, we got a backtick there. That is working. Okay, so we've got a much larger range of symbols now, which is nice, which will just give our passwords that extra bit of security. Okay, lovely. So we've got our character range. We now have our way of generating the password. So let's get rid of this print. We don't want to print the character range now. We know it's working. Let's actually print, or let's return our password, right? Because that's the whole point of this. We're supposed to be returning our password. So when we say generate passwords, let's say password is equal to generate password, and then we'll print our password. And we need to give this a length. If we have it 0, it's going to run 0 times in this for loop and not do anything. Let's have a look at that. Okay, it's printed out blank because we've got nothing. So instead, let's give it a number. So let's do 10-digit password. Okay, and if we run this, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lovely. And it's got a symbol in it. It's got some lowercase. It's got some uppercase. It's got a number. Now, we are using complete randomness to pick this. And so there is a chance that a password might not have a number in it or might not have a symbol in it, because we're not saying specifically that it has to have one of each, right? We're just saying that pick from this huge character set, and hopefully one of the ones you pick is a number, is a letter, is a symbol. So maybe we should address that, and we should say, to begin with, password equals random.choice. We're going to say lowers, adds, random.choice lowers. Yeah, so we're going to take a random thing from the lowercase. We're going to take a random.choice from the uppers. Do I call them uppers? Capitals, not uppers. Capitals. We're going to add the symbols. And we're going to add the numbers. Okay, so we're going to start off with, if we print our password here, with one of each. So we're guaranteed one of each in our password. Just run that and see. Yep, so you can see here, the first bit of the password was generated, a lowercase, an uppercase, a symbol, and a number, and then the rest was all generated. And you'll notice, it doesn't look like we actually got a number in the rest of this. So if we didn't generate this number, it's likely that we could have not had a number throughout this. I believe this is an O rather than a 0. And so it's important that we're doing this. However, now we know that there's going to be a format, right? The password is a bit less random now, because we know it's always going to start with a lowercase, an uppercase, a symbol, and a number. And so it's a little bit more predictable. And so what we might do is we might do a little bit of randomization with the actual string itself. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a swap function, and we're going to get the password to swap characters a few times. We're going to get it to shuffle. So we're going to have, I know you can shuffle arrays. I don't think you can shuffle a string in Python. But let's just check before I write my own function. Shuffle string Python. Let's just can we do this? Is there a one line sample list s? Okay, that's quite elegant. So we could convert it into an array, shuffle it, and then join it back together. Let's do that. This looks nice. Okay. So why reinvent the wheel when there is code that will do it for you? So down here, before we actually let's still call it shuffle password. So def shuffle password, and we're going to just take that string and we're just going to shuffle everything about so that it's in a completely random order. And we're going to take in the password as an argument or as a parameter here, and we're going to say our list is equal to the list of our passwords. So we're going to take our string and we are going to convert it into a list, and it's called L in this example. Not happy with that, so let's call this password list. Password list equals list password, and then we're going to use the random library and say random.shuffle, and we're going to give it that list, and then we're going to say password is equal to an empty string, and then the join function will take all of the elements, each element, and adds that empty string at the start here between each one. Now, because we're giving it an empty string, it will have nothing between each one, so it will just join them all together. And we're going to give it that password list. Okay, so shuffle password. Let's just take this as an example, this output password that we've got. Oh, let's just copy that. And let's come down here and let's just tell it let's comment out these lines and let's just see if our shuffle password function is working. So I'm going to say shuffle password, and I'm going to put in the password that we just generated, and we're going to see if that works. And also, I guess we need to print what it's doing. Are we printing in? No, we're not. We need to return our password up here in shuffle password. So we need to say return password so that it comes out of this function and we can actually use it somewhere else. We're going to use it in this print statement. So it will return to this print statement and then it will print. So let's run this. Hooray, it's been shuffled, right? All of these characters have been shuffled around. If I run it again, they're in a different order, and a different order, and a different order. Lovely. That is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe we'll just do this for a couple of times. No, that's just silly. That's just silly. We won't over-engineer this. There's no need to keep shuffling. We'll shuffle it once, and that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our password. We're going to get our password, and then we're going to say password is equal to shuffle password, and we're going to give it our password, and that is going to update this variable with a shuffled version of it. Okay, so we're going to print out the first 4 characters here, and then we should hopefully see when we bring these lines of code back in that we have a password that doesn't start with these first 4 characters that we're printing out here. Let's run this. Lovely. So we can see it has a lowercase d, a capital T, open square bracket, and a 7. But we can see that they're not at the start here. They're not in the same position as we first started it with. They're still in here. There's still a capital T, there's still a lowercase d, there's still an open square bracket, and there's still a 7. But they are in different places, which is fab. This is working lovely. Okay, now we have this parameter here, contains, right? And this will essentially decide whether we add in certain things or not. So what we really want is our character range at the top here to equal an empty array. And then we want to say if contains, and then we're going to use a dictionary here. And I'm going to show you how we're going to format that dictionary when we write the kind of user input side of this, right? Actually, generate password. We need another function that kind of runs this function. I guess what we want is generate password is right. We do want that, and then we want kind of a let's make a kind of function that controls this whole process, right? So let's say def get secure password. Trying to make it sound very different to the generate password one. Okay, and what this is going to do is it's going to take some user input and it's going to then feed that to the generate password function, and that's all going to kind of, so these two are going to kind of work hand in hand together. So let's write this. If we get a feel for what the user's going to kind of be asking and how we're going to package this up and send it off to the function, then it will kind of make more sense. So we're going to say we need a number of time, we need a length, right? A length of the password that this is going to be. So we're going to say length is equal to input. And we're going to ask, how long would you like the password? No, that's too wordy. That's too wordy. We're going to say password length. And we're going to leave it at that for now. Okay, we might jazz up the sentence, but I don't need it to be too wordy. So we're going to ask for the password length. We are not going to ask for, but this is where we would ask for whether they wanted symbols and stuff. Okay, but what we're going to do instead is we're going to have this contains dictionary. So contains is equal to a dictionary. If you don't know what a dictionary is basically like an array, but in like a list, right? But instead of in a list like here, if I had like let's say, I don't know, A, B, and C, I can refer to the thing at the first thing in this list as being at position 0, okay? And I can refer to this thing here as being at position 1, and this as being at position 2. So we have integer indexes starting at 0 and going upwards for the different things that are stored in our list. I don't want these stored in this list, though. Let's get rid of that. A dictionary is slightly different because instead of storing things by number indexes, we actually give them values that they're stored at. So I'm going to say contains numbers, and that value is going to be true. Okay, I think I put a comma. I think that's right. Okay, and then I'm going to say contains lowers. I really wish I hadn't called them lowers, and that's going to be true. And then we're going to say contains capitals, and that's going to be true. And we're going to say contains symbols, and that's going to be true. And this is our dictionary. So this is going to contain all of these values. And then when we send this contains dictionary up here, we can then say if contains capitals is equal to true, then we're going to say our character range plus equals ASCII range 65 to 90, right? I'm going to shunt that in there, get rid of that. Okay, fantastic. And we're going to do that for each thing. So I'm going to take this whole thing here and I'm going to paste this under. Now, I'm not going to do an else if because these aren't mutually exclusive. It's not if it contains capitals, then ignore all the others. We're going to do these as 4 separate if statements. If it contains capitals, then add this, okay? End of that if, new if. If it contains symbols, then we're going to do this. So let's do lowers first. Lowers is equal to true. Then we're going to say character range plus equals ASCII range for lowers, okay? And then we're going to do the same here. Actually, let's take this whole thing here. Copy that and paste this here. And this is for symbols. Now, the symbols is slightly different because obviously we've got 3 lots of symbols to do. So I'm going to shunt all of those there. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to replace symbols with our character range. And I'm going to replace this with our character range. Okay, and lastly, we're going to get our numbers. So I'm going to take this, copy that, highlight this, replace it with that, and we're going to change this to numbers. Okay, so now we are kind of future-proofing this. So later on in our app, if we decide we want to add in the functionality where the user can customize whether their password has numbers, uppercase, symbols, some places, if you're creating a password, they don't allow you to have certain characters, certain symbols. So you might want to turn them off or turn them on, okay? So this is all working nicely, and that's all fine. So now character range equals this. I can actually get rid of this. I can get rid of this completely because we're building our character range from whatever we are having up here. Now, unfortunately, I was using this to add one of each in, right? Down here. Now, I only want to add one of each in if it's actually being included, right? If we're not containing capitals, and I don't want to start our password off with a capital letter, because that's really silly. So we're going to change how we do this, and we're going to set our password to be an empty string at the top. You can see that, like, I wrote all this code, and now I'm just completely rewriting it, and that's fine. That's great. That's development. That is software development in a nutshell. We try something out, and if we think of a better way to do it, or we start improving it, okay, then we're not afraid to just go in, rip some stuff out, and change how it goes. That's absolutely fine. So we are going to copy this, and I guess really we should be, yeah, okay. We should be splitting this over 3 lines. I'm trying to do too much at once, right? So we're going to say lowers is equal to get ASCII range. We're going to say our character range plus equals lowers, and then we're going to say our password plus equals a random selection from our lowers array, right? So we need this so that we can just pinch a letter out of it for our password. So that's fine. So we just need to go and update this for all the others now. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to cut that. I'm going to put capitals. kind of going back to what I had at the beginning now, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. Capitals equals get ASCII range, and we're going to get the capitals. Our character range plus equals our capitals. Okay, and then we're going to say our password, we're going to add to it a random capital letter if we are using capital letters. So this is a really important bit, right? We're only doing this stuff if we contain that capital letter. Now, I'm aware that we are doing a lot of the same thing, and I feel like it could be put into a function. But maybe we'll look at that down the line. We are like, this code is very repetitive, which makes me feel like there's a better way of doing this. But it's not immediately obvious to me, so I'm not gonna waste too much time trying to think about it just yet. We're okay to be inefficient right now. Okay, there's no need to worry about efficiency. So password equals plus equals random.choice capitals. Lovely. So we've got our lowers, we've got our capitals. So now we'll just do our symbols. Oh boy. What have I done? Okay, let's take this, let's put this here, and we're going to say character range plus equals symbols. We're going to say replace all of this with symbols. Okay, we're going to say symbols equals get ASCII range, and then we're going to add to that symbols array of that other ASCII range of symbols, and then we're going to add to that symbols array another range of symbols. And so we'll have a nice big bumper array of symbols. And then we will add that array of symbols to our character range, whatever's going to be in our password. And finally, we need to add one of those symbols to our password. So we're going to say password plus equals random.choice symbols. Lovely. One more to go. One more to go. It'll be worth it. I promise. I promise. Okay. If contains numbers is equal to true, our character range is going to plus equal numbers. And what is numbers? Numbers is equal to get ASCII range, and we're going to add a random number to our password to kick it off to ensure that there's at least one of it in there. Because when we're using randomness, there's always a chance that the same thing could happen over and over again, right? If you shuffle a playlist, if you put random on Spotify, right? If it's truly random, it will play that whole album in order, in sequence, right? Because it's just got just as much chance of doing that as any other. So it should be possible. It's not that it's likely that it will happen, but it should be possible. And just like this, it is possible that we could get a sequence of things that wouldn't have a number in it if we weren't forcing a number in here. So we'll just change that to numbers. Okay, lovely. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. So we can get rid of this big line now. These can go. We're doing that in our if statement. So I've kind of refactored this, right? This is working a little bit differently. So we're checking if our contains dictionary, if the thing at capitals, so down here I've defined our dictionary, so contains the thing at capitals, if that is true, well, it is, because we're giving it true, okay? Then we are going to get a, we're going to add our capitals section of the ASCII table to our character range, and we're going to add a capital letter to our password. Okay, and that's the same for all the others. That's all working. So this is all fantastic. Get secure password. So we are asking the user for their password length. We are then going to say password equals generate password. We're going to give it that length and the contains dictionary. And then we're just going to print that password and make sure everything is working. Okay, let's run this. Nothing happens because once again we have just a module full of functions and no actual running code. So let's pop some actual code down here. When I say actual code, I mean I'm just being silly. I mean code that will actually be run. So it reads all these functions, but these are just definitions, right? It's not actually doing anything with them. We have to use this to do something with it. So let's run this. Password length 10, please. And there is a major error. Okay, great. So string cannot be interpreted as an integer. Oh, okay, yeah, duh. It's like the most simple thing, right? So inputs always come in as a string, so we need to convert this to an integer because we need to pass that to a for loop, which is going to then iterate using that. So I just need to wrap this input as an integer. So we're casting it into integer. And I've wrapped this input in int with brackets around it. I could have said on the line below, like length equal to int of length, okay? If I wanted to make it a bit clearer, but it's probably not necessary. Okay, lovely. So let's run this. Let's add in 10 again. Huzzah! Okay, fantastic. We can see it had capital C, H equals 9, and we can see the capital C, the equals, the H, and the 9 are all still in this password. That's all still working. Now, let's try it with a different length. So let's just do a little bit of testing, right, to see if this works. So 2. Okay, that's an interesting problem. So if I put in a password of anything less than 4, I'm going to get 4. It's been okay. Yep. Okay. There's a logic error here. I've goofed up. So we're putting 4 we're potentially, well, we are with this one where they're all true in this contains dictionary. We're putting 4 characters into the password before we then spin round for the amount of characters that the person wants. So I've put in 2, but the length of this is actually 4 more characters than I wanted. And so actually we need to go, we need like a count really, don't we? So I'm going to have a count. I'm going to set it to 0. And every time one of these is true, we're going to up the count. So I'm going to say count plus equals 1 for each time we do this. And again, the copying and pasting is not good. There is got to be a more efficient way to do this. And we will figure it out, and it will be very satisfying. But it's okay. It's okay. And so we're going to have length minus our count, right? Because if we have 4, if we've already generated a password of 4, then we don't want it to then add on another 4 characters if they've just asked for a password of length 4. And likewise, when we ask for a password of length 10, what I didn't realize is we were actually getting passwords of length 14, and that's not what we asked for. If the place where you're making an account has a password limit of 12 characters, and you say, okay, I want a password of 12 characters, and our app gives you back a password of 16 characters, you're not going to be happy with that. You're going to be like, well, this is a pants app. So we're going to keep track of how many times we're adding to our passwords, how many characters we've added, and then we're going to subtract that from the amount of times we're going around this loop, okay? And we should now, if I put in 2, maybe it will break. No, it won't. So you can see there, we still got the issue where the password has to be a minimum of 4 characters. I don't see that as a bad thing. You know what? Don't see that as a bad thing. Maybe we'll just put here password length must be 4 or larger. It's in the user's hands now. It's not our problem. Jobs are good. And let's pop that on a new line. And let's pop that on a new line and put like a little fancy thing like that. So let's run this again. Password length must be 4 or larger. 10. Lovely. Let's also just do a little check on when they put in their length. So if length is less than 4, we are going to print length entered is less than 4, defaulting to length of 4. Okay, and that way it's if I put in like 2, it's obvious why I'm getting out 4. So if I run this now and I put in number 2, okay, length entered is less than 4, defaulting to length of 4, and then I get a length of 4 password. So now our bug is now a feature. Hooray! It's great. So this is what the user wants. This is what they want. Now, let's just do a little bit more testing here. There are a couple of things that I just want to make sure that we're kind of doing as we go to make sure that our program is a bit robust and a bit good. So first of all, what I'd like to do is I'd like to just edit this generate secure password. What happens if I turn numbers to false, lowers to false, and capitals to false? In theory, if our code is working, if it's good, we should have just a password made of symbols, hopefully. Okay, so I've turned all of these to false, and you can kind of use your imagination, right? And you can see how we could quite easily update these values by asking the user questions. And later on, we might have checkboxes and things that they can tick and untick to get these values. But I should just be able to run this now. And I should be able to put in 10. Voila. Okay, fantastic. So you can see here that we've got, we only had one print out at the top, because remember, we're printing in our generate passwords, we're printing our password once we've added the random things. But obviously, when there's only one type, when there's only like symbols that we're adding, we're guaranteed to get symbols. So it's a bit redundant for that, but that's okay. It still works. It's still good. And then hopefully we've got 10 symbols here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lovely. So we've got 10 symbols here that have all printed out. So by changing these values, we can change what is going into the password. So now I've added in capitals. Now you can see I've got a mixture of capitals and symbols. And we can see I had a random capital and a random symbol there, because they're the two things that are going into this. This is working absolutely beautifully. Let's just try this with, let's turn lowers off and let's turn numbers on. And let's just see that working. Let's put 20 characters. There we go, lovely strong password. Did we get any? Oh, numbers, right. I thought I turned lowercase on. Still not listening to myself. Okay, great. So we'll turn these all back on. On, off, true, false, 1, 0, whatever you want to use. Now, there's one last thing that we want to do. Instead of, this isn't the last thing, but instead of printing this, we actually want to start returning this now. Okay, so that we can use it somewhere else in the program. What we need to do is we need to check, like, what happens if I run this and I type in hello. Okay, program breaks because I have entered in a string and it can't be converted to an integer. Right here, I'm trying to convert this to an integer. So I'm going to take our length and I'm going to try to do something. Okay, I'm going to try to say length is equal to the integer version of length. I'm going to say, look, Python, I want you to give this a go, right? And if you hit an error, specifically a value error, this one here that is told me in the feedback here in the console, if you hit that value error, I don't want you to crash, okay? I don't want you to go trace back most recent call loss. I don't want the user to see any of this. All we're going to do is print out a little smug message saying, oh, why don't you try actually adding a number, or some kind of equally snarky comment to the user to let them know that they've entered this wrong, right? So we are going to say try length equals in length. We are going to accept a value error. And if that does happen, we are going to say, we're going to print out invalid. Also, let's use length. Invalid number. Please only enter a whole number. You entered, and then we will add our length. You entered length. This is wrong. This is wrong. Let's leave it at that for now. Okay, so we're going to try that, and we're going to then accept that. And then what we'll do is we'll wrap this in a little while loop. So we'll say while. How should we do this? How should we do this? How should we do this? Let's do input valid is equal to true. We're going to say while input valid is true. Again, don't have to put equals true there. I can literally just say while input valid, but that's fine. We're going to say this. I'm just going to shunt that over. So this is inside the while loop now. Okay. So we've got while input valid is equal to false, it's not valid. It starts off invalid, false. Our length is equal to input password in. Okay, we're going to try length equals in length. If that works, then go on and say input valid is true. And we're just going to, I can't remember how Python deals with variables, but I'm just going to kind of put length here and set it at 0, just so that we can access it once this loop is finished. We probably would be able to without doing that. Python's a little bit weird with variables, in the fact that it's very easy to, it's not that weird at all. So we've got a try except here, right? So we're telling the program, try doing this, and if there's a value error, don't break, don't crash, just print this, and everything will be fine, okay? So let's run this. Okay, we can see it's still working, and I'm going to enter in the number 10, and I get a 4-digit password. That's that's concerning. Length equals 0. Length equals int length. Okay, let's not set it to 0. Let's try this. 10. Still getting 4. Okay. So we're getting our input. Yep. Try length equals int length. Input valid equals true. Yeah, what's wrong with this? What is wrong? I reckon it's repl.it being weird. It's now loading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test it with a string now. We've clearly got some kind of error with how this is handling numbers, but let's just try it with letters. So let's put in hello. Okay, look, the program didn't crash. This is great. This is really important. So it said invalid number, please only enter whole number. You entered hello, which is great, okay? So what we'll do is we will clear the screen. Have we got helper in here? No, let's import our helper. Import helper. And I think it was helper.clear. So just before we do this, we're going to say helper.clear. I think we called it that. And so we should be able to run this now. And if I type in hello, yeah, it's popped up there now. Okay, so that's cleared it, and it said invalid number. I think what will also be good is if we do a little we could do with like a solo error message function. Let's do that because that would be quite helpful actually. So if we go into helper, what I'm finding a lot is that I want to clear the screen, I want to show an error message, I want to pause for a second, and I want to clear the screen again and like reset it. And so it'd be quite nice just to have that all in one function rather than doing that over and over and over again. So what we'll do is we'll write def, I don't know, let's say user feedback. That's a nice neutral term. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it a message and we're going to give it a time, okay? And we're going to set the time as a default value. Let's set it at like 3 seconds, okay? And what we're going to, so if they don't give us how long that we want it to be, then it will just be like, oh, we'll use 3 then. And what we're going to do is we're going to say clear. Oh, hello, come back. We're going to say clear. We're going to say print whatever message we give this. We're going to, we need the time library in here. We're going to say import time. Okay, we're going to say time.sleep. Again, you could do from time import as if you wanted to give it a funky name, or just from time import sleep if you just wanted to use a sleep function rather than saying time.sleep. It's probably more, we're probably not going to use it that much in here, so it's probably not worth it. Time.sleep, and we're going to use the time variable that we're going to pass in, the time parameter here that we're going to pass into this, and then we're going to clear this again. Why is this unhappy? Redefinition. Oh, okay, right, yeah, because I'm importing time, I can't call this time. So let's call this seconds, and we will call this seconds. Lovely. So instead of doing clear, print, time, sleep, clear, what we'll do is in our, what do we call it, generator? Where am I? Am I in here? Is that what we're using? Yeah, it's been too long. Okay, so instead of saying helper.clear, what we'll do is we'll say helper.user feedback, and we can give it our message here. We'll take that and we'll paste it in here. And that just means that we've taken like 4 lines of code and put them into 1 line of code, which makes this very nice. I'm sorry, my screen is fighting for space here. Let's pull out some space here. So we've got our string here, invalid number, please only enter a whole number, you entered something. And that should give us, sorry, I'm trying to zoom out, but it's not letting me help. There we go. It should, that should be good. Okay. Now let's run this again. So now I'm going to enter in hello. Okay, it gives me the error message. It waits for 3 seconds and then it goes back here. That's fantastic. And you'll notice I didn't give this a number, user feedback, but I gave it a default value when we defined it in helper, so of 3, and so it's just used that number, and that's really helpful. So sometimes when we're going to have parameters in functions where like it would be nice to change it, but pretty often we're going to need the same value. We can just put in a default value, and that's makes our life a lot easier. Okay. So we've just got this one little bug to squash, and then we're ready to implement this into the main program. If the user types in anything now, if they type in a number that's lower than 4, we give them some feedback. If they type in something that's not a number, we give them some feedback. And if they type in something greater than 4, apparently we don't really do anything at the moment, which is concerning. So length equals input password length. Yeah, length equals int length. Let's just print what length down here. Let's just make sure that our length is getting there. Yeah, so our length is getting there. Okay, great. And then we're saying if length is less than 4, we're just going to print that. We didn't print that. Password equals generate password, length contains. So if we come up here, generate password, length contains, pop, 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 count plus 1, length minus count. So what's length here? Let's print it there. Not print 10, print length. And are we printing length? No, I got rid of that. Okay, great. So let's just see if that's changed. Oh, 10. Okay, it's still 10 there. And then we minus count. So then we're going to do this 6 times. Yeah, so 10 minus count. Our count will be 4 because we're having all 4 capitals, lowers, symbols, and numbers. So that will do this 6 times, and it should generate us a password. So let's just print here what our password is as we go through this loop, because it seems like this loop isn't actually running at all, which is a little bit odd. So let's just pop 10. Okay, that's actually working and printing out now. Am I going crazy? Was that just not working? Or did I just, I don't know what's going, I don't know what's up or down anymore. Okay, let's run this, 10. Oh, I'm not printing the password anymore. I'm such a dingus. Okay, so get secure password. Actually, if I just said print get secure password, you can tell I've not eaten yet, can't you? There we go. Great, it's working. What I did was I changed this to return rather than print and just completely forgot. Okay, lovely. So we've got all of our generation code here. Okay, we're shuffling the password. We're getting our ranges from the ASCII table. We're generating a password, and we are getting the user input in order to generate that password and making sure that we sanitize that input, making sure that user input is good. Okay, now we don't actually want to call that function here. This file is not going to do a thing. What we're going to do is we're going to import our generator into our file here. Let's import generator. And then we're going to come down here. Why are you angry? Just because I haven't used it? Yeah, okay. We're not using random. Cool. We can get rid of that for now, for the time being. No doubt we'll probably be using it in the future. And if we come down here, if user input is equal to 1, then we're going to say generator dot, and we're going to say get secure password. So we're going to say password equals generator.getSecure password. I guess actually what we want to do is we just want to print that out to the user in this function, right? We should have that function do everything. So let's come down here and we're going to say, we're going to return the password still because we might want to do something later on with the password, the value. But what we'll do is we'll print and we will say password. Oh, let's put it in a string. Password. And then we'll add our password. And maybe I'll put a new line here actually. So it's on its own line, so it's nice and easy to see. So if we go to our repl.it file, and now we're going to change generator.py to main.py so that when we press run, it will run our main function. We will need to log in as Bob again. So let's press run. So our username is still Bob. Our password is still the most secure password in the world, password 1. And we are going to generate a password. Now, up till now, only exit has worked. But today, we will generate a password. We're going to pick one. We're going to press enter. And it's asking for our password length. OK, cool. So one thing that might be quite nice is changing what is up here. So let's... oh, it's going to be a new helper function, isn't it? Yeah. Do you know what? You can tell I'm on a roll today, can't you? This video has been like double the length of any other video so far. OK, we're going to say def print title. OK, and what this is going to do is it's going to take the title and we are going to do what I'm doing in here where I'm saying clear account menu and then printing some things underneath it. OK, so instead of that, I'm going to say helper.print title and we are going to give it account menu. We're also going to have the option to give it a character as well. So let's jump into where this is defined. We're going to paste that in here. We don't have to say helper.clear because we're in the helper file here. So we're going to say clear. We're going to say print. And then instead of printing account menu, we're going to print our title that we gave it. And we are also going to give it a symbol. And by default, that symbol is going to be a dash. And we're going to print that dash 15 times. And so later on down the line, if I don't like how this is printing out, I can just change this. The likelihood is that we'll develop a UI for this, and this will be completely just destroyed when we do that. But it's nice to kind of think about these things as we go and have this program looking good. So if I run this, also our main menu, we can now convert to this as well. So if we come down here, you can see main menu is doing exactly the same thing. Clear, print the menu, print these, right? So instead of saying helper.clear, we're going to say helper.print title, and we're going to give it main menu. Oh, almost. Okay, there we go. Helper.print title, and that will just print out main menu. And that just makes our program just a little bit easier, right? We can see here, oh, what's this going to do? It's going to print the title. What title is it going to print? Main menu. Nice, easy, succinct. We don't need all the clear and the dashes and stuff. That's just... we can hide that away, and that's what we've done. And what we'll do is we'll jump into our generator where we have imported helper already, and we will say, we'll say up here, helper dot, we won't, we'll say up here, helper dot, what do they call it? Print title. And we'll call this password generator. Lovely. So we're kind of going to a new screen or something. Okay, let's run this and let's see how we do. So let's log in. We are Bob. We have the ultimate password of password 1. Okay, we're in the account menu. Let's press 1 and go to the generate password screen. Yes, look at this. Fantastic. We're deep in the mainframe. You can see that this these 15 dashes aren't quite enough now because password generator is quite a long title. So if I wanted to change this but keep it uniform, I only have to go to one place. I can go down here and I can change this number 15 to like 20 if I wanted to, and it would change it for everything. So that's quite nice. Okay, password length. I would like a password of 25 characters, please. And boom. Okay. Okay. Now, what happened there was it generated me a password. It printed it out to the screen, and then it cleared everything and went back to the account menu, which is not great. So what we're going to do is we are going to say input, press any key to continue. You'll notice we're not going to store the input or anything. We're literally just going to wait for, actually not any key, we're going to say press enter to enter key to continue. Press enter to continue, okay? So when the user presses enter, then it will go off and away. And we can use this as just a way of controlling the flow of our program and allowing the user to decide when they want to go without having to use like a while loop or something. So let's try this one more time. Let's log in as Bobo with his password. I almost forgot his password then. It's too secure. Okay, let's generate a password. Okay, password generator. Let's add in, let's get a password. Let's not do 25. That's just craziness. Let's do 15. Lovely, fantastic. So we've got our password, and then it's saying press enter to continue. So I can select this now. I can copy this, and we might look at actually how we might use Python to automatically add this to the user's clipboard, and then we could kind of print a message saying maybe added to your clipboard, so that the user doesn't actually have to copy this. It's automatically done when they generate it. So now if I press enter to continue, I'm back at the account menu, and now I can generate another password length 16. Okay, I've got my password. I can press enter to continue, and this is working lovely. Now, what I'd like to do is I would like to just add a couple of new lines here just to separate that out. Bobo, I can't stop typing Bobo. Okay, so we're going to add 15 maybe. Okay, there we go, and we've got our password. And I think what I'll do is I'll just add a new line for there as well. Okay. I think this has been a very productive hour. We've done quite a lot. You can see that, like this, the trajectory of this project, right, is we're kind of, we've not like ended up. It's been like 4 sessions now, right, and we've not ended up with an app that does everything that you'd expect a password manager to. And the whole point of this is kind of getting used to not being perfect the first time around and not solving everything instantly, but taking our time, being methodical, and like working through something and just figuring it out and just enjoying the process. Okay, and that's the most important thing, for you to enjoy the problem solving aspect of this and to be able to take your time and not stress about it and see it as something that you're in control of and that you have an impact on, and that you don't need to come up with 100 solutions an hour, right? We can work at our own pace, and we can do this as slowly or as quickly as we like. So we've made our generate password function work. This is done. This is awesome. I didn't increment the version today. What a nightmare. Quick, where is it? There. First thing. I can't believe it. Okay, so version 0.4 now. Very exciting. We just need to see that. Where am I seeing it? Am I actually printing it out? Do I have to log in? Maybe. Password 1. I'm not even printing it out. Welcome to Password Manager. Oh, maybe I am. Oh, because the title is clearing everything. Okay. I have to think about that. I'm actually clearing this right at the beginning. Okay, that's a problem for another day. Let's call it a day here, and we will come back and we will start working at actually taking account information from a user and storing it here. Now, this, we can't just store it in a file. Remember, like with Bob and the password, we stored it as hashes, but obviously we can't store it as hashes either, because the person is giving us their information. They're going to forget about it, and they're expecting us to be able to remember it. And so hashes are one way. We need a 2-way encryption that we can decrypt what we've stored so that we can then give it out to them. And so that will be kind of next time's challenge. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed programming along with me, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, take care and goodbye.